Hello, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and this is episode 92 of my series in which I will try to collect 1 billion iron ingots. In today's episode, I am going to continue tree breeding so that I can get a awesome sapling that I can get ethanol from. And first thing I want to do today is I want to breed a few new trees that I don't have yet, because currently I pretty much have the coast sequoia and I need several other traits to get to where I want to be. So I think the first thing I'm going to breed today is I'm going to breed for the trait saplings so that I get lots of saplings, and for that I will need to breed for the balsa sapling, because as I understand it, it has the highest sapling value, which is at high. If we see right here, it is the high value, so we need teak and acacia. We do have acacia right now, so we just need to grab teak, so that is dark oak and jungle. That should be pretty easy to do. We have dark oak sapling right here. We have I can't spell jungle pollen right here, and we can pop that into the Mutatron over here and we can get teak. Now meanwhile, while that's going on, we can go ahead and throw some saplings in here, because we already have another trait that I want, which would be let's grab some apple oaks here, the faster trait for the maturity. And so let's go ahead and try to grab that by throwing a bunch of saplings in here. And the teak is done, so let's grab our analyzer and analyze this sapling real fast. So nothing special with the traits here. That's fine though. It's just kind of a pass through. We are going to need some phytogrow and some pollen collectors. So let's go ahead and grab all of that stuff. And now we can go out here and plant this guy, grow him up, get some saplings. I also think I need my grafter. I probably have it in here. Yeah, there we go. So let's grab that as well. Let's throw away the bone and arrow and gunpowder. So obviously we don't need that. And then I think this sapling needs to go not there. It needs to go one over, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, one over. That should be perfect. Hopefully it has enough room to grow. It does. So that's fantastic. Let's grab some pollen. Okay, we grabbed a few more pollen than I really wanted, but that's perfectly fine. It's not like I'm losing any resources by doing that. And then let's hack the head off this so we can get some saplings. Now we have teak. And let's go ahead and scan these as well. And you can even scan pollen, but I don't really ever scan pollen. It's not really necessary or anything. So let's throw that in. Okay, so we were aiming for the blue maho. No, we weren't. Whoops, that's later. We're doing the balsa right now. So what else do we need? The acacia. So we need acacia. Let's grab a tree because we have more teak pollen, so we can deposit that stuff in there. Let's get this tree made. So now we will have balsa, and this gives us one of the traits we want. Okay, cool. So we have this. We have the faster trait. Let's go ahead and grab the traits we want. So let's grab largest as well. So that means I can go ahead and pull you guys out. And then, yeah, that's fine. For right now, our balsa, let's scan him real fast. High, average, large. And I want to try something real fast. Let's grab some pollen. I have a bunch of bullpine pollen. Let's do this. Okay, cool. I didn't know if you could or not, but apparently you can use pollen in a genetic sampler, which will make this next step pretty easy. And we'll see why here in a second once I have this balsa sapling grown up. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And you know what? There's a bunch of stuff in the way. Let's hack the side off this tree. Try to get a little more clearance over here. This tree doesn't look so happy about that. Oh well. You can cry me a river. And let's grow this guy. This tree doesn't have very many leaves, which is probably why it gives the trait, or the trait where it has pretty much as many saplings as you can get. So let's just grab a bunch of pollen, because apparently we can use pollen in the genetic sampler there. So that's cool. Let's get a few saplings here. Yeah, it's probably more than I really wanted, because I'd prefer this tree to exist still, and now it's almost out of leaves. But that's okay. So let's go ahead and scan these things. And as we see right here, we have high saplings, which is what we want. And then let's go ahead and scan these as well. So we can throw these guys in here, and let's grab our balsa sapling and throw it in here. And then I'm going to grab a half stack of these and replenish. So that's one more trait. Next, let's breed for the blue maho, which gives the trait sappiness. So if we look up, and I should say all of them give the trait for sappiness, but this one gives the high trait for sappiness, and that would be the second S in the sequence here. It says S high. So that's what we want. We just bred the balsa, which is awesome. Next we need the desert acacia, which is the teak and balsa together. So let's grab one of those teak. I can't spell. Teak and then balsa. And I didn't grab any spare pollen. Let's go ahead and just grab. Actually, let's leave a few in here. And then we can make our desert acacia. I'm not going to go ahead and do this sapling because I don't really think I will ever need it. Okay, so here's our desert acacia. Let's go ahead and grow this bad boy. And he should be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you really didn't want to grow, but that's perfectly cool. Got him now. I knew that was gonna look ugly because the top leaf line was only one thick. Oh well. So we got some saplings here. Let's grab some pollen as well, and then we can continue. Let's scan these guys though before we continue. Definitely, this has actually pretty terrible traits. Lower, average, small, 1 by 1, lowest. That's terrible. Anyways, let's grab a sapling. And then we were looking for blue maho. That would be balsa. One of the pollen. And we will have blue mahos. Okay, so let's see if we have... Actually, it would be fertility, I think. Lower, low, high. Okay, we got the high. So we got what we need out of that, so let's just throw those in there. Now we have our blue maho. Let's scan him. Sappiness, high. That is perfect. Now let's go ahead and plant this guy. Oh, there's one more trait we need to look out for, and that is on the second page. The supports, and we're looking for palms. Eventually we're going to do something with palms. I have an idea of what tree I'm going to use, but I actually don't know as of right now what tree I'm exactly going to use for my saplings. So we will maybe find out this episode. Actually, things are going pretty quick. So now we have a blue maho here. Let's hack the head off this guy. And looks like our grafter needs to be recharged. That's perfectly fine. Let's grab some pollen. Let's just use the rest of these guys. And now we have... Actually, let's just grab a bunch. Whoops, I keep hitting the wrong buttons here. Okay, so let's grab 2 stacks of these guys. And can I fully auto this? Yep. As it just told me, right? right click. A little over half stack should do. Let's throw a bunch in there, and then we can scan the rest here. So that is cool. Let's throw those in there. Next, we need the orchard apple, and that will give us the higher trait for yield, and that's the highest thing I can find. So let's go ahead, orchard apple, and it is the apple, oak, and hill cherry. I might already have everything I need. Actually, I know where I can get hill cherry stuff. So we actually had hill cherry trees at our old base, as in me and my brother. So I'm just gonna go that way. But first I need to charge up my grafter, and that requires coming in here. Boom, it's charged. Duck down. Okay, if you can see over there, I believe those are hill cherry trees. And those actually grow in the wild in this version of Forestry. And I'm gonna go hack the head off my own tree. So, boom. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of cherries. And then I want to grab some pollen as well. So let's grab some of that. Then we can go ahead and scan these guys. So that's cool. Got all that. Let's head back. I think it's kind of interesting that it renders the draconic reactors before it renders the buildings around them. Just random thought. Okay, now let's go in here. What was it? The apple oak? And hill cherry, I believe, were the two. I don't need the rest of those. So let's throw these guys in here. I'm going to throw the cherries in my regular system, and I'm going to grab more phytogrow as well. Or some rich phytogrow, I should say. Okay, so do we have the... high fertility? We already have... No, we don't. Okay, that was from the teak. Or balsa. It was from the balsa, my bad. Before I go and grow this, let's scan it and take a nap. Okay, so we have the faster trait as well as the yield trait. The yield of higher. And as we see, this actually supports citrus as well, so that's interesting. So this tree supports quite a bit of stuff. Not really interested in most of it. I'm interested in apples. Because unless Forestry is changed in the 1.12 version, and it actually might have, other fruits and other things other than apples grow in a different way than apples do. The leaves actually have a maturation process very similar to what the saplings themselves have. And in the past, I actually think they had two different apple traits. They had regular apple traits and then the advanced apple traits. And let's go ahead and hack the side off this. Give this a little bit more room. Okay, there we go. And see if we click here, the fruit goes from unripe to ripe. Oh my goodness. Did some of these ripen on their own already? That's ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some pollen. And I'm going to grab a bunch actually. Because once again, I'm going to throw the pollen in the sampler. And now that we have a bunch of pollen, let's get some of the saplings as well. Oh my goodness, that tree is dead. And let's scan this. Or these, I should say. Fruits, apple. Okay, so that doesn't show up any differently than the regular apple would. So that makes me curious if they didn't change the apple mechanics to be more in line with the regular, or more in line with their old mechanics for all their other fruits and stuff. So let's see here. Do I have my trait from the Blue Maho? And that would be the sappiness trait. No, I do not. So I might need to throw in some more stuff. Let's grab a half stack of these guys and a half stack of these guys. Unfortunately, we're getting unlucky over here. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some apple oak saplings here. And we're going to plant a few of these trees and then chop them down. Just for a little bit of science, I guess. Because I want to know if they changed the mechanics here. So let's plant... I know I didn't do that in a perfect pattern, but that's okay. I'm gonna plant 6 of each of these guys. And then we're gonna grow them up. I said grow. And then I'm gonna chop them down. And I want to see how many apples we get. I'm using all of my fighter growth. My goodness. Okay, so unfortunately I don't actually have a really good axe with me. Fortunately for me though, these trees do not have very much wood in them. I'm not meaning to kill all of the leaves. It's just happening. Okay, so we're getting some apples, which is nice. Okay, you can be quiet now. Okay, that's interesting. It looks like they may have changed the mechanics for these guys. Not really sure. Because it's showing up as ripe and unripe, just like the other forestry trees here. So let's go ahead and chop these guys down. See if we get any apples. Right now I have 8 apples, and most of the leaves from the first apple trees are done. See if we get any more apples. These guys actually should give more apples, because they have the higher yield trait. But we'll see. There's also, I guess maybe going the other way, they have fewer leaves than the traditional apple trees. Okay, so it looks like they gave 0 apples, while the regular apple trees gave 10. So, that makes me think. We might have to use apple oak. Apple oak might be the way to go here. I was thinking that maybe it wouldn't be, but... Okay, so let's see. Did we get our trait? No, we didn't. So we still need to throw in Blue Maho. Wow. That's unfortunate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab more pollen and then more Blue Maho pollen, throw it in there, and wait until I get the sappiness trait from it, and then I'm going to be right back. And here we are with our sappiness of high. So we have that trait now. And the next thing we are working on is the higher yield trait from the orchard apple. So once we get that, actually, before we get that, we can clean up our inventory a bit, and we can start to create our genetic template. Now this is the same process as we used with the bees. We just get our traits that we want, in which case I have organized up here, and we throw them onto a template through crafting table. So there are lots of different things here. I don't know that any of the trees have any effect whatsoever, but that's fine. I do need apple at some point. I probably already have that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this. Actually, I kind of want to wait for the yield trait. If I can spell it right. So right now we just have the lowest. I'm going to wait for the higher yield trait to appear. It should be, I should get it somewhat soon because of these guys. And I'm going to be back after we have that trait in our system. And it looks like we have our trait here, yield higher, so let's grab that. And what we're going to do is we're going to slap this on this guy. And we are actually going to copy this several times, so we need the genetic transposer, I think. Yes. The genetic transposer just copies the template to another template, or, yeah. So let's copy this several times. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this guy and we're going to look in here. And I realized something. If we look in here and we look at the fruits, there are two different apple traits here. So what we're going to do is we're going to test both of them. I'm pretty sure that this is actually the apple trait I want to use, but I'm not 100% sure. So first off, I'm going to take this apple trait and throw it on here. And so we see our fruit is apple. And like I was saying earlier, there are two different mechanics for fruits. There's the vanilla mechanic for fruits, in which case I think is one of the apple traits. And then there is the forestry mechanic for developing fruits. And I think that is the other apple trait. So I think with this apple trait, we're going to get apples in a different fashion. So what we're going to do is we're going to imprint this onto this orchard apple. And if you remember last time when I grew the 6 orchard apple trees earlier this episode, I got 0 apples from those things because I cut them down almost like just a minute after I grew them. I got 0 apples. So if I have all these traits on this orchard apple, I'm hoping to see a bunch of apples once I cut down the tree. If I'm right in my guessing. And I don't need these anymore, so let's just throw those back in. So as we see here, this has quite good traits. High saplings, it grows fast, it's large, it's still only 1 by 1, it has higher yield with a high sappiness. So let's go ahead and plant this awesome little beast right over here. And let's grow him up. Okay, so as we see here, it looks like there are apples there. So let's go ahead and chop him down. Now, on the downside, even with the largest trait, this tree is super, super small. Okay, I think we got our answer right there. Look at that. That's a lot of apples. So this is the correct apple trait that we want, which is fantastic. Now what we're going to do is we're going to find a more suitable sapling to grow apples. Because as we saw right there, even though that sapling was labeled as largest, or it had the largest trait, it wasn't very tall at all. And it didn't have very many leaves, which means fewer apples. Fewer leaves equals fewer apples and fewer saplings. We want more apples and more saplings. In a perfect world, we would be able to grow coast sequoias that grew apples, but unfortunately they do not support apples. At least I'm pretty sure they don't. I should probably double check, because if they can, that would be fantastic. So let's go ahead here. Let's grab these guys and throw them in. See, they support none. No fruits, no nothing. So we can't use those guys, which is unfortunate, but you know, that would be super overpowered. So let's go ahead and throw a bunch of stuff in a regular applied energistic system. Let's find some saplings here. What might we be able to use? Obviously apple oak is something we could use. Blue maho is also something we could use if I remember right. I'm honestly not sure about the common yew, so let's check that out. I believe we can use the hill cherries. I'm going to hold these off to the side. Let's get rid of all these other saplings down here, because I don't need those right now. What else? So that's bad. There was one more thing. I don't think jungles support it. Where's the sugar maple? Because I think that might be the tree we're going to use. So let's take a look. Does the yew tree support it? No. So no there. The hill cherry does support it. See, apple is a palm, so that's what we're looking for. We could use that. I don't think we can use this. It does not support palms, so that is a no-go. And the sugar maple. So it does support palms. So what we're going to do is we're going to get one sugar maple and one hill cherry. We're going to do kind of a showdown here. We're going to grow both these trees and see how many apples we get from each. And let's get rid of these other trees here. Let's get rid of that as well. This thing needs to go faster. Okay, awesome hill cherry. High, faster, largest. 1 by 1, higher, high. Awesome traits right there. See, as we see, it has fruits. It will make us fruit because it's a fruity tree. Anyways, actually, let's grab these because these are also done, and let's throw them in there. In the next episode, we might play around with girth and stuff, see if we can't get even more yield out of our trees. But I think that'll have to be next episode. So let's grow one of them over here. Let's grow the other over here. Make sure they have plenty of room. Look at that beast. That's pretty awesome. That's a pretty big tree. Now let's see this guy. That is also a pretty big tree. So it looks like they both have plenty of leaves and stuff. To be honest, I actually prefer the taller tree and not the wider tree, because if we were to make a tree farm, the wider tree blocks other trees from growing versus the taller tree does not block quite as many. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop this bad boy down and then see how many apples we get. And of course, it makes things difficult because it's so tall. I want my old axe back that I no longer have. Okay, there's still a little bit of wood left. Is that all? Okay, that looks like that might be all she wrote. That's pretty awesome right there. Look at all those apples and saplings. So from our one tree, we got 95 apples and 18 saplings. So that is fantastic. 95 and 18. Gotta remember that. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and scan these guys. So that's a pretty good yield. We're up 17 saplings because obviously the one we used. And now let's test out this tree. Oh man, I wish this wasn't so branching. Makes it more difficult to cut down. Okay, I think we're nearing the end here. Maybe. Okay, that might be all she wrote. So actually, I think this one's going to yield more apples. But like I said, I would prefer the taller tree to the wider tree. Oh yeah, this is a lot more apples. My goodness. Now I'm reconsidering. Wow. That's tough. Because that yielded quite a bit more. Because before we had 91, so this was something like that. And here's our yield differences. So here we had over 2 stacks of apples. We had almost twice as many apples. And it's getting close to twice as many apples. And we actually had over twice as many saplings. I still think I'm going to go with the sugar maple. I might look into a few other trees in between episodes. But I think the sugar maple will be a nice tree. And we can start to set up a farm in the next episode. But for right now, I think we're just going to huck this stuff back in the system. And I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up. So in today's episode, I managed to breed a couple awesome trees. Right now, it looks like I'm going to go with the sugar maple. It produces a lot of saplings, it grows big, it produces a lot of apples. It should be a fantastic tree for an ethanol farm. And with these trees, I should be able to set up just a little small farm and produce quite a bit of ethanol from it. I'm not really going to set up a large-scale ethanol production facility, but we can make a little ethanol. As of right now, I have 563 million iron ingots, which is fantastic. We're closing in on 600 million and getting ever closer to that 1 billion. But for right now, signing off, I am Minecraft Phenom 08, and I will see you next time.